Hello everyone, I'm Kyle Glockner and welcome to another episode of FaceOff. Oh, Bethesda. What can I say about you that hasn't already been said? You make games, that's for sure. Are they good? That's for you to decide on your own. Do they function? Well, I think we all know the answer to that. But enough bashing Bethesda, we're here to talk about video games. On the two most notable Bethesda franchises, the Elder Scrolls franchise is what introduced me to the company. Among the 5 main titles, the 4th and 5th installments, Oblivion and Skyrim, are the ones I'm most familiar with. There are a few games that I have heard more heated debates over than these two. So to give my 2 cents, today we'll be looking at the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. Let's get started. We'll start with the earlier entry in the series, Oblivion, released in 2006. In Oblivion, you take on the role of a prisoner in the capital city of the land of Tamriel. In the opening scene, you escape from your prison cell with the overarching goal of stopping the Daedra and their evil plots, but this is a loose goal. The Elder Scrolls games are completely free of linear plot, meaning that you can do whatever you want whenever you want. You could never do the first quest of an Elder Scrolls game and still have a blast in the world around you. With that, there are some areas that are only accessible through advancing the main story, but this is never too complicated. Speaking of Oblivion's main story, Oblivion's is fantastic. The story always feels fresh. You'll hardly find a time when you're playing Oblivion where you think to yourself, this is kinda like Game X, or this is clearly based off of Show Y. Everything feels original and great. The same level of grade A storytelling is carried over to the secondary quests throughout the game, which the Elder Scrolls series are known for. In these 2 games in particular, there are 4 main secondary quest lines: a fighter's guild of some sort, a mage's guild, a thief's guild, and an assassin's guild. Without going into much detail, let me just say that in Oblivion, these quest lines feel just as important as the main storyline. Oftentimes, you get so wrapped up in one of these quest lines, it's easy to forget that this isn't the main part of the game. Aside from the main and secondary quest lines come side quests. These are little tasks you'll pick up through a variety of methods, like talking to certain NPCs, going into certain areas, picking up certain items, etc. Each quest feels like its own mini-story that unfolds through 2 to 5 simple tasks and can be incredibly rewarding. Sure, there might have been a lot of fetch quests and a lot of kill quests, but each of them had a unique twist that makes them stand out, so that when you play the game again, you enter an area and think, oh, that's where that really cool quest starts, which is fantastic for a game like this. As far as gameplay goes, it can be pretty lackluster, which really takes away from some of the amazing stories. From subpar combat to confusing menus, Oblivion can be a mess for someone picking it up for the first time. The map is another area where Oblivion could have been better. Again, unless you know what to do and where to go, the map can be one of the most confusing parts of the game, which is pretty bad considering it's a game about going places and having adventures at those places. Once you know what you're doing, navigating the land is fine, but until you can figure it out, which can take hours, it's not a fun experience. Now, after Oblivion's release in 2006, the Elder Scrolls didn't see another release until 2011, with the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. When Skyrim was announced, the hype was huge. My little middle school mind was blown away by the graphics and the dragons and the combat and the everything. It looked amazing! And then, as the game released, everyone was obsessed with it. I would play it every chance I got. There was so much to see, so much to do, so much to experience. At first. We'll start off with the main quest. Much like Oblivion, you're a prisoner being transported to Helgen, where you are to be executed along with the leader of the rebellious Stormcloaks. Just as you are waiting to receive your axe to the neck, a dragon flies down and starts, well, doing dragon things. That is, assuming your game doesn't glitch out and he just flies around the tower until you restart the game. After narrowly escaping Helgen, you are given the choice to follow whoever you choose to lead you out of Helgen, or break off and start the adventure on your own. Assuming you stick to the main story, you won't find much waiting for you there. The plot feels really forced and not very interesting, to say the least. You're the chosen dragon guy and you gotta kill dragons, but not some dragons, just meh. But the main story is hardly all an Elder Scrolls game has to offer. The secondary quests can make up for a less than good main quest, and in Skyrim, they kinda do? Much like Oblivion, Skyrim has 4 main secondary quests, but it also has 2 more, a Civil War quest and Daedric quest. While they aren't much, admittedly, they're infinitely better than the dull main dragon plot. I mean, come on, Skyrim! How do you make a story about slaying dragons with your voice dull? How do you do that? It's like they tried to make it boring on purpose. Now, contrary to Oblivion, Skyrim's gameplay is one of its 2 saving graces. Everything from the combat mechanics to the menu navigation to the map, everything works so well. It honestly feels like Bethesda put most of their efforts into improving the poor gameplay of Oblivion, but forgot to work on the story. As I mentioned, there are two saving graces to Skyrim. The second one is its DLC. In my opinion, the DLC makes Skyrim. Now, I know when people hear DLC, they get defensive and start ranting about how game companies aren't finishing games anymore. But, and I won't say this too often, Bethesda knew what they were doing for once. The two main DLC packs, Dawnguard and Solstheim, have so much packed into them that they each feel completely new games. Plus, the story for these quests is great and kept me entertained the whole time I was playing them. Honestly, if all of Skyrim was like these two DLC packs, I wouldn't have any problems with the game. Except for the glitches. In the end, with games like this, it comes down to gameplay, and Skyrim blows Oblivion out of the water. While a good story is nice, poor gameplay will stand out much more than a good plot. My idea for the perfect Elder Scrolls game would be to take the gameplay of Skyrim, combine it with the storytelling of Oblivion, fine-tune it, and you've got one of the best games ever. But until we get that glorious game, the winner is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. So what do you think? Would you rather hunt dragons or Daedra? Be sure to let me know by tweeting me at ZTVGoofingOff using the hashtag FaceOff. Until then, I'm Kyle Glockner, and I'll see you next time on FaceOff.